Hi, I'm Enchanting Nubia Net. Welcome back. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. Now let's talk about a tragedy that's shaking the Phoenix community to its core. Now, this is a kind of story that makes you pause, reflect, and ask someone, how could someone who once served this country could be so evil? Now, Thomas Brown, he's a former serviceman who turned into a small business owner. But now he's facing 2 counts of first degree M ending in R. Now, after investigators linked him to the passing of 2 high school students from Arcadia High School. Now, these teens, they were on a supervised camping trip. So they were with other people, chaperones, teachers, and other students. And they were in the Tonto National Forest when they were reported missing. Now, I'm not sure if they had, went on a trail or, they were discovering different places, exploring, or what have you. I don't know how in the world, he was able to single out these 2 teenagers. But again, they were reported missing. And then their bodies were later discovered in a remote area of the forest. And the scene told a story, everyone, like no parent ever wants to hear. So devastating. So now DNA evidence, according to the police detectives, was a breakthrough. Thank goodness for DNA. So it placed Thomas Brown at the scene, and from there, this case began to unravel like an onion. Now the charges against him include first degree M, kidnapping, and unlawful disposal of human remains. Now let's be real, everyone. This isn't just about a crime. It's also about the man behind it, because it's very devastating, of course, for anyone, to attack and cause a demise of 2 people for no apparent reason. But this man, Thomas Brown, was known in the community as a so-called disciplined, quiet entrepreneur. Now, his military background gave him a certain respect. And according to police reports, his businesses were very clean. There was nothing illegal about it. So he seemed like a, great citizen. But YouTube family, beneath that exterior, investigators believe there was a huge storm that was brewing. I don't know for how long, but definitely it was brewing extremely. Sources out close to the case suggest that Thomas Brown may have been battling untreated PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, or deep personal isolation. He reportedly had his wife there, which was interesting. I read in an article that his wife was actually at the camping grounds with him early in the day. No, I don't know how long she was there, but she did leave early in the day. So it's interesting. His wife leaves, and then he has, the mindset to target 2 people, random people. I always say when someone has these type of, evil characteristics, I do hope that they have an in-depth investigation, because this cannot be his first time. Not at all. That's my belief. So let's continue. And it's stated that recently he had to shut his business down because of financial strain. So indeed, that is a case, and I know that is stressful. When many people may have to shut their business down, people are losing their jobs, especially in the last few months. But for someone to have this mentality to, cause someone else's demise or unalive someone, that has been there long, long before. He just wasn't caught. So there is speculation that he had a history of erratic behavior. I'm not surprised at all, though nothing on record pointed to violence until now. So again, you have to look at people who have these type of, tendencies where, certain things don't add up with them. And, they seem very cold, very um, lack of empathy. They may not have anyone who's close to them. Well, he did have a wife, but he doesn't have any family ties. And investigators, as you know, they are definitely interviewing or interrogating his wife as well to find out if she knows anything, of course, his background and how long maybe they have been married. I wonder if she knows of any of these traits that he may have, possessed. So let's continue, everyone. This story is not only a headline. We definitely need, again, and I've said this in a previous video, there has to be a call of action because there needs to be better mental health support, for all of our citizens and especially veterans. I don't know which branch of military he was involved in or how long he served, what experience he had. But again, when people transition from the military back to, civil life, and depending on what trauma he had, what experiences, they definitely need a lot of counseling and even medication. So we definitely need community systems that really catch people before they fall through the cracks. I don't know if he had these characteristics before he was in the military, or maybe, once he was there, being in that environment, that setting, something else went off, and, this is who he became, even though he's back in, civilian life. Very harmful for the society. Thankfully, with DNA evidence, he was caught. So Brown's arrest definitely has left the families of the victim devastated. Of course, not only the families, but the students, classmates, of course, their parents, the whole community. So vigils definitely have been held, and the school district, thankfully, is offering grief counseling. Can you imagine, being a teenager and having your classmates going on this fun trip, you're all excited about your discovery, spending time together, and then a horrible crime like this takes place. Very tragic. So another thing I want to say, YouTube family, is that this case is very layered with a lot of contradictions. So hear me out. So the latest revelations definitely deepen the complexity of this case because, Thomas Brown, he didn't just show up in the investigated, he actually inserted himself. So according to court records and a statement from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, it was Thomas Brown who contacted the authorities about the M ending in R's of the 17-year-old Evan Clark and 18-year-old Pandora. I cannot pronounce her last name, excuse me, but it's spelled Kjolsrud. I don't want to mispronounce this name. Claiming that he had been camping at Mount Ord around the same time and wanted to share drone video and photos to assist in the case. So this shows how twisted this man is. It's horrible. Of course, he's twisted because of the crime that he did. But even to say, oh, I want to help you with this case, I have this as evidence, that he's trying to show that he's some type of hero, that he is actually assisting them and he's on their level, as far as doing detective work. Meanwhile, he is a culprit. Very sick. He told investigators that he'd seen the teenagers and their silver Mercedes SUV near the top of the mountain. Now, get this, everyone. He even admitted to rummaging through the gray tote near the vehicle, though he insisted he didn't take anything and he had no physical contact with him. So, you know what? He probably knew that he couldn't, get rid of all of the fingerprints left behind, again, the DNA. So that's why he admitted that he was near the crime scene. However, on social media, Thomas Brown posted about regretting staying an extra night due to a quote unquote, a gang of rando adults playing music, quote unquote, nearby. So, he inserts himself into this case. Then he acts as if there's other people who are, more criminal minded, people who are very shady, who are in that area, to say that it could be them. Meanwhile, police, of course, they have, their, videos, they have DNA evidence, and of course, all evidence linked to him. And even the drones that he gave to police, it didn't even show obviously that there wasn't anyone else in that area. So the post is definitely very creepy, very, very chilling to think that, you know, what he has done, inserting himself and also trying to blame someone else. Thankfully, no one who's innocent was caught up in this horrible crime. But again, this is where the story turned because detectives, with their intuition, they had a bad feeling about Brown from the jump start. His eagerness definitely raised red flags. I watch Law and Order and other crime shows, and there's times when someone is so sick that they really think that they are more intelligent than the trained police officers or detectives, and they think that they can fool them. So again, he raised huge red flags by trying to so-called assist with the case. So a search warrant for his DNA was eventually obtained. And of course, the results were that Thomas Brown's DNA was found inside a pair of gloves at the crime scene. And the gloves also had Pandora's blood on the outside. Now, it's so interesting that as a military person that he didn't even, remove the gloves and take it with him and, discard them. It's surprising that he actually left them there. So his DNA was also discovered inside the teen's SUV. So it's so interesting, everyone, that, he's had military training. But again, I believe because he's so off balance, thankfully he didn't know how to, clean up everything. Thankfully he didn't, so that they were able to catch him very quickly. So again, like I mentioned earlier, he faces 2 counts of first-degree M, along with the kidnapping and unlawful disposal of the human remains, and his bond is set at $2 million. And of course, the prosecutors argue that he is a danger to the community and even a flight risk. This man, he was a veteran, a husband, and even an entrepreneur. You would assume that he is an upstanding person, but we can never assume. We can never just look on the exterior. Because look at what this man was, and I really would be interested to know about his history. Before he went into the military, what type of man he was, and, how long was he serving for, and what trauma that he experienced. I would truly, I want to follow up with this case, and I hope that more information will be released in the media. So on paper, it's so interesting that he had it seemed like he was someone who beat the odds. But he had untreated trauma, isolation, and this breakdown, the erratic behavior that people did notice, but he did not get help for. Though his actions offering help while allegedly hiding the guilt definitely shows that he is very conflicted. And this all unraveled, thankfully. So, again, I just hope that, of course, justice is served. And, we really need to have, a lot of people need to have access to mental health resources. It's very unfortunate. And, may Evan and Pandora rest in peace, because their lives were, they're just here for a short time. And they just wanted adventure. And I just hope that they are truly resting in peace, as well as condolences for their family, the school staff, their classmates, and everyone in that community. Is just extremely sad. So unfortunate. It just shows that you have to be on your guard at all times. These teenagers were with a group of people, and somehow they still were able to, you know, um, come into the path of a terrible, evil person. Extremely sad. Please leave your comments below, everyone. Thank you for watching, and I appreciate that you watched the video. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Please stay safe and have your head on a swivel.